There are several enablers, but I'll be brief and I'll just mention the most important ones. Number one is the perpetrator. We know the perpetrators. These are gunmen that we popularly call bandits, or if you like, terrorists. We still don't have an anti-kidnap framework in Nigeria. It's sad. We've talked about it for years, but we still don't have one. I want us to, at least start from that basis. Because we don't have an anti-kidnap framework, and the good thing, which I'm excited about, is that if you look at the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it's contained there. That there is a statement that points to the fact frameworks will be developed for each of the 6 geopolitical zones to address peculiar challenges in them. And so I'm hoping that the coordinators, and there are 6 of them, would very soon, in fact, I hope that by now, they are already developing a framework to address that. Now, because there is no framework, we're seeing a haphazard creation of security structures by the subnationals. And that in itself is a challenge. When the excitement was that several states, Kaduna, Zamfara, Katsina, the most recent one is Sokoto, have created state-level security structures. Most people were excited, but I cautioned. I said, well, there is a need for caution, mainly because there is no framework. I doubt if there is any federal MDA that you go to now to tell them to give you the details of the operatives that are in this subnational structures, and you get it. There is none. Now, what has happened is that several people have been co-opted into these subnational structures, and in co-opting them, the 3 elements that could have made them effective, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, have been missing. The second element that is missing is their training. Now, because of that, we're seeing a resurgence. They were recruited with a notion that certain ethnic groups are responsible for the crime that we're seeing in the northwest part of the country. And because that particular ethnic group was not included in the recruitment, you now have a situation where they are targeting that particular ethnic group, and naturally that ethnic group would seek to arm itself. So there is a competition, as it were, at the moment for influence between the various subnational structures that exist. So that is one enabler. The second enabler is the existence of ungoverned spaces. In the case of the Kuriga incident, they moved the kids into the forest. And since then, they have been moving in the forest. They will probably end up in that particular state where we're hearing they came from. And so that the fact that we still don't have any mechanism for dominating ungoverned spaces is the second enabler. The third enabler is their ability to move. They came on motorbikes. At least that's the intelligence we were able to gather from the villagers. And they moved from, like I said, a particular state in the northwest across several, probably up to almost 1,000 miles. So if there was capable intelligence, we could have harvested their movement and prevented where they were going to, or even stopped them before they reached that decolation. So that's the third enabler, the inability to prevent the movement of these persons on motorbikes and the inability to harvest intelligence. Of course, the fourth enabler is the response capability that we spoke about earlier on with Bukola, because even if they were able to move and arrive at that location, if the response capability was effective, would have been able to stop them. So in summary, these are some of the enablers that have allowed this to happen. You can talk about the fact that they are still able to have access to petroleum to put in their bikes, to travel up to maybe 400, 500, 600 kilometers. You need petroleum to put in those bikes. And then, of course, even after the incident, to move back to those locations, they need petroleum. So this, in summary, are some of the enablers. How about the communication? They still are able to communicate among themselves. Someone is controlling them, and they communicate through, most likely, mobile phones. So this are, in reality, some of the enablers. And I'm shocked. I'm sure you'll be wondering, while I say this, what are our security agencies doing? For every enabler I mentioned, there is a security department that has a mandate to monitor that particular enabler. And that takes us back to my earlier point about accountability. Who is asking questions regarding the inability of this particular security department to implement those or to prevent those enablers?